I do not own the rights to this music. Hello, and welcome to Sunday School Summary with Brother Ron. Sunday School lesson for Sunday, March the 23rd, 2025. Our reference material for the Sunday School Summary is based upon the International Sunday School Lesson Series as published by the Sunday School Publishing Board. We are discussing Tabernacle Sacrifices and Atonement as the title of the Spring 2025 lesson series. And the lesson series connects the Old Covenant sacrifices and offerings as a bridge to understand the New Testament's understandings of Christ's sacrifice. The Tabernacle Sacrifices and Atonement is our first lesson in the Unit 1 lesson series. The title of our fourth lesson in the Unit 1 Spring 2025 lesson series is titled Up in Smoke, or Our Sins Are Burned Up in Smoke Through Our Sacrifices or Burnt Offerings in today's lesson. The key verse comes from Leviticus chapter 1, verse 9, and it reads, "You are to wash the internal organs and the legs with water, and the priest is to burn all of it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, a food offering, and an aroma pleasing to the Lord." The title of today's lesson, Up in Smoke, from the book of Leviticus. Now, Leviticus is written after the Israelites arrived at the base of Mount Sinai and awaited God's instructions to Moses. Leviticus is the third book of the Old Testament and is a continuation of the deliverance and guidance of the children of Israel. The story began when God delivered the Israelites from captivity in Egypt and protected and provided for them in the wilderness until they arrived at Mount Sinai. At the foot of Mount Sinai, God commanded Moses to construct a tabernacle or a sanctuary where God would dwell with the Israelites. He further instructed Moses to ask the people of Israel for a freewill offering to construct and equip the tabernacle. He appointed the Levites as priests in perpetuity for the operation of the tabernacle and established the rules for the people's gifts as sin offerings, which brings us to today's lesson. There are two summary lesson points for today. Restoring relationship, and that's from Leviticus chapter 1, verses 3 through 13, and no one is left out, and that is from Leviticus chapter 1, verses 14 through 17. The passages for the lesson today revolve around the key words of faith, wisdom, atonement, and tabernacle. And we know that faith is a complete trust, assurance, belief, or confidence in God. It is the faith to follow God's commandment for sacrificial offerings in today's lesson. Wisdom is the ability to apply experience, knowledge, and judgment to produce good judgment. And it is the wisdom of the Israelites to acknowledge sins and offer burnt offerings as atonement to God in today's lesson. Atonement is a covering or purging or reconciliation. It is a burnt offering as a reconciliation to establish the right covenant relationship with God in today's lesson. And tabernacle is a portable tent-like sanctuary or dwelling place to represent God's presence. It is the entrance to the tabernacle that burnt offerings were brought for sacrifice in today's lesson. Our first summary point is restoring relationships, and that's from Leviticus chapter 1, verses 3 through 13. And in these passages, God instructs Moses on the burnt offerings that would produce a pleasing odor that is acceptable to God for the forgiveness of sins. And he goes on to say that a person may want to give a gift to the Lord, and the gift must be a male animal from his group of animals, and it must be perfect. He must burn the whole animal as a gift to the Lord, and the person must bring it to the door of the tent of meeting. If he does, the Lord will accept his gift. And the person then would put their hands on the animal, and they would kill it. The animal's death will pay for the person's sins. And the person must kill, if it's a young bull, in front of the Lord. The priests, who are the sons of Aaron, or the Levites, will take the blood, and they will throw it on the sides of the altar nearest to the door of the tent of meeting. The person will skin the animal and take the skin from the dead animal, and after they would cut up the meat, and the sons of Aaron would place the meat on the altar and light a fire under it and put wood on the fire. And then they will put the head and the fat on the fire with the meat. Again, the person who is requesting the forgiveness of sins, will wash the legs and the inside parts of the animal with water, signifying purification. And then the priest will burn the whole animal on the altar, and the smell of this burning flesh is pleasing to the Lord. Also, the person may give a sheep or a goat as a gift to the Lord, and it must be, again, a male animal, and it must be perfect. And the ritual that the priest would perform is the same for a animal, whether it is a bull or a sheep or a goat. And the person must wash the legs of the animals. The second summary point is no one is left out, and that's from Leviticus chapter 1, verses 14 through 17. And in these passages, Moses tells Israel's people what to do with gifts that are not of the flock or herd animals. And he says if it's a bird, then the sacrifice offerings relates to a turtle dove or a dove. And in these sacrificial offerings, it is basically a relationship where one is forgiven of their sins or given the opportunity to forgive their sins based upon their ability. So everyone can contribute based upon their abilities. And it says if it is person wants to give a bird to the Lord, it must be a dove or a pigeon. Pigeon, not pension, pigeon. And the priest will bring the bird to the altar. He will tear off the head and he will burn it on the altar. And he will splash the bloods on the sides or drain the blood on the sides of the altar. The priest would then remove the feathers from the bird, which again represents cleanliness or purification. And he would throw it on the east side of the altar with the ashes where it is consumed, intended that they would be burned up with the sins. And then he will tear open the body of the bird, but he's not tear it completely. He will burn all of it on the fire on the altar, and the smell of it while it is burning will give the Lord pleasure. So people were giving according to their ability and those things that had value as an offering to the Lord for the forgiveness of their sins. This is Brother Ron with a Sunday School Summary for Sunday, March the 23rd, 2025. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed week, and we hope to see you next Sunday for another edition of Sunday School Summary with Brother Ron.